We late, but we made it. Fuck it. Doing it live. By the way, Rice wants you to smash that like button. I said it. Rice wants you to smash that like. Smash that like notice. Shooting them birds.
We coming for you, nigga.
Ready to earn big with crypto? ZoomX, the exchange used by Crypto Blood in the first season of Trading Wars, introduces Pathway. Become your own KOL and turn your influence into profit. Invite 10 friends, become an affiliate, and pocket massive 30% commissions on trades. ZoomX, your pathway to crypto success. Visit ZoomX.com, link in the description below.
Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Okay. Ready?
Fucking thing sucks! We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
That's how we do it.
It's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to, I don't know what we're calling these series. It's just me and Rice.
Blake Rice.
We're late because he saw I had my blazer on, so he had to go put his blazer on.
We were late to begin with because he came on late anyway, so it's a double whammy, and he's trying to blame it on me. But it's all good, man. Pass the buck. You make a good politician.
I do?
You would.
Oh God, no.
Mayor
No,
of
I couldn't
Detroit.
play. I couldn't lie enough. I couldn't lie enough. We got True Duco in the house. Wisdom Bar's in the building. He said, let's hear what old Raspy Voice got to say. Yeah, we got to hear what he has to say. Rice is all pumped up about it.
Well, I told when he first started running, man, I was kind of weird about the voice, but one, he's done a lot to improve his voice. It's nothing like it was like back when he first was contemplating running for president. So he's gotten with doctors, done exercising,
Oh, okay.
It's
I
rough
didn't know
at
that.
times, but I would rather hear him than Biden. I mean, if you listen to Biden speak, I'd
King
rather.
Chris in the
Plus, I
King
mean, this
Chris
guy.
in the building.
When you hear the wisdom and the smart things that come out of his mouth, you want to pay attention. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm coming on this show saying that I'm rooting for RFK Jr. and I'm going to be voting for RFK Jr. That is not the case. I just liked what he had to say in this particular speech. I thought it was very educational, and he kept a lot of things relevant to where we are today and kind of what happened with the founding of our nation and our founding fathers and the documents that we know today as the Bill of Rights and the Constitution of the United States of America.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm interested to hear what he said because I didn't see it.
You didn't see nothing on this, but yesterday we did a live reaction on Donald Trump. So make sure you guys check that out if you have not checked that out. And if you did, you're going to enjoy this clip that Blood's going to go ahead and throw up here. Throw this clip up.
You total attack on plastic chickens starting tomorrow. You got what you want. You're getting it now. With your plastic chickens, and your dumbass libertarians and all the rest of them. Burn in frickin' hell. But if people want to sit there and defend plastic chickens, I'm going total attack starting tomorrow. Get ready, because plastic chickens going to do is suck votes from Trump. I'm sick of the plastic chickens leading votes away from Republicans. You got plastic chickens. You're getting plastic chickens now. Your dumbass plastic chickens. Total attack on plastic chickens starting tomorrow. Plastic chickens. You got plastic chickens. You're getting plastic chickens now. Because you guys want to defend plastic chickens up your rear end. Get ready for it. I'm going full attack on plastic chickens because plastic chickens is the new award. All week long, get ready. Clips of plastic chickens saying arrest people. I'm sick of the plastic chickens and plastic chickens burning frickin' hell. You're a fake and a fraud.
And I thought that was awesome, man. I saw that. I was looking for something about RFK when I was like looking for some title ideas, and that came across my feed, and I was like, yeah, I gotta go ahead and clip that.
Yeah, because
on the stream.
so because we saw the plastics
yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
they're not plastic though; they're rubber. But
rubber chickens. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. They're not real chickens, but yeah.
Janix in the building. Yeah, of course.
Make sure you guys smash
John Hill in the house, aka Default. All right.
So it's John Hill. It's not Mike Hunt.
No, Mike Hunt. No Mike Hunt. Wisdom Bar says Biden speaking like I like my ice cream, like my girls fresh and wet. Oh, pedo. Oh, no,
yeah.
Sorry.
So, I mean, if we're going for what we were trying to do yesterday, yeah. Speaking of that, though, have you seen? I think I sent you the article from Snopes where they confirmed that Ashley Biden's diary.
The diary is real.
Is actually her diary, and it mentions her taking showers with Joe, and Joe is not actually her biological father. She's from the previous marriage of Jill Biden.
I didn't know that.
And I think her father had died. Her ex-husband died, and then married. Because also, I think Jill is the second wife of Biden, if I'm mistaken.
Okay. Yeah, it's real. But guess what? Nothing happens. If that was Trump, he would be done. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah. They would totally. It's just being really kind of like swept under the rug. But we obviously know that there's legitimacy to it.
This is why I'm saying, guys, you need to vote for Trump. Because there's a reason why they're attacking him. Both sides. There's a reason why they play favoritism. Why they allow one camp to do a certain thing or things,
that's
plural.
A joke too. What Alex Jones was saying in that little skit, because he's also saying the plastic chickens are taking away the votes from Trump, taking away the votes from the Republicans. So it's almost like what Trump said to their party, which is like, you can just let your 3% go to waste, or you can vote for a winner.
Yeah,
you could be a part of the winning team. You're gonna have billions and billions and thousands of votes.
Billions and billions and billions.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear this speech here. You got me all hyped up.
Man, it was
So,
4:20 and 59 minutes ago in my place, but it's always
Same.
4:20 somewhere.
Same.
Just like it's always 5 o'clock somewhere. It's always 4:20 somewhere.
There you go.
As a matter of fact,
Well,
when Blood pulls this up full screen, it'll be 4:20 for me. And
Yeah.
I want to let people know that we are also live streaming on both
It'd
of
be
our
4:20.
channels. Yeah,
No,
I
it's
guess
5:20.
Yeah, but I'll do what I would do anyways.
Oh,
So when you put the video full screen, I'll partake in my recreational activities.
Cannabis. Hit that like button, ladies and gents. I'm under the weather. I almost didn't do this stream today. I woke
I'm
up.
surprised.
Oh my god!
I'm surprised you did it, man. You're a trooper, super trooper blood. He sent me a message like sounding like death, saying I was gonna be able to do the show.
God, bro.
Then he said he could do the show, and we were gonna do an hour earlier, and then we did it on time, but not really on time. That's how we roll. But we appreciate it. But again, we are live streaming on both of our YouTube channels, both of our X accounts. I think Blood is streaming on his Rumble, so make sure you subscribe to both of our channels. We have links down below in the video description. If you're watching on X, those reposts help get more views as well. So thank you.
Yes, we have all together right now, Rice. Let me do a quick rundown on the stats. 18 people on your YouTube, 22 on your X, 32 on my X, and 22 on my YouTube. Now, I usually don't stream this late.
Right.
I usually get better numbers earlier.
And I released the video on Monday about the same time, too. I think it was 5:30 that I released the video.
Yeah, I get better views around 3-ish. 2 or 3.
We got I am in
better
the house.
views. I am fine.
I am partaking in my liquid recreational while I'm doing this.
Now, you didn't get a chance to check out Billy Goattails last night. I jumped in there for a minute.
I caught the I think I jumped in like maybe 30 minutes into it, and I listened to like maybe 20. I had a really long day yesterday.
It was pretty cool. They were all over the place. Yeah, I jumped in there.
I can't remember who was speaking when I joined, but I just listened. I didn't really partake, but yeah, every Tuesday, and I think they're about to wrap up this first.
Have 2 more.
Yeah, I think this, and then they're going to be releasing it as NFTs on Cardano.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get this party started here.
Can you pause it on your end or no?
The United States Constitution, and particularly the Bill of Rights.
Oh no, he sounds.
A lot of people don't realize that.
Good or bad?
Articles of the Constitution don't grant citizens any rights or freedoms whatsoever.
Well,
that was a real
where's the lighting?
to some of the founding fathers.
I think it was the
particularly
recording.
to George Mason.
I'm using a Twitter.
Mason wrote a pamphlet.
Something from Twitter.
During the Constitutional Convention that opposed the new government. And that pamphlet was so convincing that the other framers of the Constitution felt that it was too much of a hazard and that the Constitution was in danger at that point of not being ratified. And that's when James Madison came to the rescue by drafting the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution. Originally, Madison felt that the Bill of Rights were unnecessary because it was obvious to him that the government couldn't exert powers that the Constitution had not assigned to it. But as everybody in this hall knows, governments don't like to limit themselves. Instead, they are.
This is also the first night, day 1 of the Libertarian National Convention, whereas Trump spoke on day 2. So there really wasn't any booing like there was for Trump. I do want to note that. Because
RFK is part of the establishment.
Yeah, but he's not part of the Libertarian establishment, so. Still part of the establishment. But he was, in my opinion, both him and Trump were trying to get the Libertarian nominee. Now, it would have been interesting because I don't think we've ever had a president have nominations from more than one party, but that would be really interesting. All right, that would have been.
They're constantly moving to exert and appropriate new powers. But the Patriots in 1791 vividly remembered the British tyranny, and they knew that every power that a government takes, it will never voluntarily relinquish. And every power a government takes, it will ultimately abuse to the ultimate extent possible. And that's why the delegates to the Constitutional Convention balked at a constitution that only enumerated government powers but nowhere limited them. And so thanks to George Mason, the Bill of Rights was enshrined in our nation's founding documents. The main articles of the Constitution enumerate what the government can do. The Bill of Rights is the opposite. It enumerates what the government cannot do. It's the Bill of Rights that earned America the reputation as the land of liberty. The problem is the Bill of Rights is only a document.
Real quick, I want to say, I didn't mean to do that. I want to say something real quick, and that is that, you know, obviously he has issues with his speech. But I really would like people as much as possible to try their best to look past that, because the things that he has to say, I mean, for one, it's a great education lesson for people that aren't really familiar with the historical documents. People have some familiarity, but a lot of people aren't really very, very familiar with the Bill of Rights and the U.S. Constitution. And that's why I think this speech is really important. I'll pull it back up.
I don't recall any part of the United States Constitution where there's an exemption for pandemic.
Yeah, I fucked up.
To the ultimate extent possible. And that's why the delegates to the Constitutional Convention balked at a constitution that only enumerated government powers but nowhere limited them. And so thanks to George Mason, the Bill of Rights was enshrined in our nation's founding documents. The main articles of the Constitution enumerate what the government can do. The Bill of Rights is the opposite. It enumerates what the government cannot do. It's the Bill of Rights that earned America the reputation as the land of liberty. The problem is the Bill of Rights is only a document. It doesn't have any magical powers to force government officials to respect it. And I'm sorry to say that again and again throughout our history, our leaders have failed to respect it. Again and again, they have cited some pretext to suspend and volunteer and violate our constitutional rights. There's always a reason why right now the rights are an inconvenience that we can't afford. It was the Red Scare in the 1920s. It was Joe McCarthy in the 1950s. It was civil rights protests and the Vietnam War protesters in the 1960s. It was the war on drug in the 1970s. It was the war on terror after 2001. And most recently, it was the COVID pandemic. Maybe a brainworm ate that part of my memory.
I like that joke, but I want to real quick notate, because there are people again talking about the voice, and I want to say he has a condition. Let me pull this up because I was trying to find out exactly what it was.
It's a neurological condition.
It's a spasmodic dysphonia. It's a rare neurological condition. It's an abnormality in the brain's neural network that results in involuntary spasms of the muscles that keep or close the vocal cords, that open or close the vocal cords. So I mean, it's not something that he doesn't have a shaky voice because he's afraid of what he's saying. He literally has a condition, a rare neurological condition of spasmodic dysphonia. So again, you know, it takes a lot of balls too for him to be doing that, because he knows that people are critiquing him by the way he sounds, and it's not something that he can really even do anything. But again, if you go back and listen to stuff from a couple of years ago, or when this first happened to him, there's a big difference in his level of speech. So
yeah.
I don't recall any part of the United States Constitution where there's an exemption for pandemics. And In fact, there's not one of the amendments of the Bill of Rights as a preamble that says, except when officials choose to declare a public health emergency, they all say very simply, the government shall not infringe on these rights no matter what. If the government can take them away at will, then they're not rights at all. They're really just privileges that are granted or revoked by an authority. Is that the kind of country that you want to live in? And every time they suspend rights and then pretend to give them back again, they establish a dangerous precedent. The rights they give back are never quite as strong as the ones that they took away. Oh, obviously, it's not the piece of paper called the Bill of Rights that protects our freedoms. We have to actually believe in it. Our leaders have to believe it with sufficient loyalty to counterbalance the temptations of power. And even more importantly, our citizens have to believe that their rights so loyally that they stand up for them, even when it means taking a personal risk. After all, the Constitution isn't just a legal document. It's also an inspirational document. And that's why, if you treasure your freedom, you better elect leaders who are inspired by it and who will wield it to inspire others. Leaders who believe in freedoms and hold the Bill of Rights in reverence.
Got any thoughts so far?
No, I'm
sorry
listening.
say
I'm taking some
President
mental
Trump
notes.
or President Biden passed this critical examination. Neither of them upheld the Constitution when it really counted. Let's start with President Trump. I think he had the right instinct when he came into office. He was initially very reluctant to impose lockdowns, but then he got rolled by his bureaucrats. He caved in, and many of our most fundamental rights disappeared practically overnight. It all started with the social media and the mainstream media, apparently without any government prompting, began censoring any speech that departed from the government's official orthodoxies. It's critical to the survival of any democracy that the free press maintains a posture of fierce skepticism toward government pronouncements and towards large agglomerations of government and political and economic and corporate power. But suddenly, America's free press was no longer speaking truth to power. Instead, it made itself a vessel for government propaganda. It began suppressing the voices of dissent.
Did you pause that?
Became the voice of the left. See, that's what he has to understand or point out. He understands that, but he's saying government propaganda. No, it was the left. The left have hijacked the free press.
Both
the media.
Especially the social media sites like Facebook and Twitter, X.
It's all left.
There has been Republicans that have done it as well. So it's not just one party that's
No.
Yes, dude. Yes.
By a large margin, it's all been colluded, and
but there has been Republican stuff happening as well, man. It's all again right wing, left wing, same bird, man. That's what I'm saying, bro. It's not when people say that they're brushing over the true issue here. The issue is the left have taken over the media fully, full stop. You can say that Republicans have done something, but it's like 1%. The Jupiters took over the media, and I said the J word, and I was really slick about the Jupiters.
That's funny. THC says, "What's
Jupiter
Fox News?" Fox News is a very small percentage of the overall.
We're talking about censorship on social media sites. is what we were talking about specifically. And I'm saying it's not limited to just the left. That's all I'm saying. And
Yeah, the left has right. The left has left media.
That information as well about both
and the right.
and Republican.
Genix says here the left has left media, the right has right media. Right, and the right media is about 10% of the entire pie.
Shut
is
up,
what
Patrick.
I'm saying. We can't negate that. That's all I'm saying.
I get you. No, I get, and I agree,
Silencing
but
and
it's not just
gaslighting.
one party.
The powerless. Oh, Hamilton, Madison, and Adams said that they had put the First Amendment into, or put the right of free expression into the First Amendment because all of the other rights depended on it. A government that has the capacity to silence its critics has license for any kind of atrocity.
Yeah.
I grew up reading Aldous Huxley and Robert Heinlein and Arthur Koestler
Brave New World.
and Franz Kafka and Alexander Solzhenitsyn and George Orwell.
1994.
The consistent theme in all of those works was
Big
the
Brother.
presumption that censorship of speech was always wrong, that it was always the first step down on the slippery slope toward tyranny and totalitarianism. There is no time when we look back at history and we say that the people who were censoring speech were the good guys. They're always the bad guys. The framers didn't write the First Amendment to protect convenient or desirable speech. They wrote it to protect the kind of speech that nobody wants to hear. They wrote it to protect incendiary speech. They wrote it to protect insults. They wrote it to protect misinformation and disinformation and malinformation and even lies. All of those are protected by the First Amendment. There were no exceptions. The Constitution doesn't have exemptions for wars or resurrections or financial crises or pandemics. The framers wrote the Constitution for hard times. During the American Civil War, the Confederate states were sending up agents provocateurs to the northern cities like Boston and New York and inciting draft riots, and they were destroying northern morale at a critical time during the war. This was a war that almost destroyed our nation. There were for 3 years of that war, nobody had any idea whether the United States of America would exist after the war was over. There was even money on it. There were 659,000 Americans who died during that war. It's the equivalent of 7.2 million today. So Lincoln and the Northern military knew who these agent provocateurs were as soon as they entered the cities. And they began arresting them before they could give these speeches. And the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Roger Taney, said you can't do that. That is an assault against free speech and habeas corpus. And he said, even if the life of the nation is at stake, even if hundreds of thousands of lives are at stake, you cannot suppress our Constitution. It is above everything. But the moment they wrote it for hard times, they didn't write it for easy times. They wrote it, United States Bill of Rights was written for the most difficult times. And no matter how difficult they are indomitable. We're not allowed to suppress them. But the moment the White House officials satisfied themselves that the American people would accept censorship, and by February, the end of February of 2020, they took hammer and tongs to the rest of the Constitution. President Trump allowed his health regulators to mandate science-free social distancing, which undermined our First Amendment rights to freedom of assembly. We could no longer peacefully gather. So that was the first two legs of the First Amendment, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. And they went after the third leg of the First Amendment, which is freedom of worship. They closed every church in this country for a year with no due process.
Now,
Okay.
I'm going to ask you this because you've watched this. Has he attacked Biden in his speech?
I believe he
Directly.
does. I mean, I believe he's pointing out things that both presidents, because he mentioned both, but he started off with Trump. So we're
Right,
like,
I'm asking, did he ever specifically
I'm not
directly
100%.
say
I'm not 100%
Biden
sure. I've listened to it one time. I didn't take
Okay.
notes, and I smoked lots of cannabis.
I guarantee you he didn't. Round of applause for that.
Well,
because he's a Democrat light. He's like John Hill said, he's a Democrat light. He's a Democrat, bro. That's why I can't take him seriously.
Well, he was a Democrat, but he wasn't allowed to even be put into the selection process when it came to the Democratic presidential nominee. They basically shut
Biden
it down.
would have done the same thing. Biden would have done the same thing times two. It would have been even worse. Yes, he would have done the same thing. Biden would have done the same thing in that scenario, but it would have been worse. And you know, my thing about what Trump did, yes, he had the Operation Warp Speed. If you look at the timeline of things, he was pretty much coerced Rice into a lot of that stuff. Like, he was pressured to do a lot of this stuff because they were leaning on him. He had Fauci. He was trying to be, you know, diplomatic and listen to Fauci.
What RFK is saying is that we need elected officials that are going to stand up for what the Constitution and the Bill of Rights say, regardless of the consequences that it might have on them as individuals. That's what he's saying, and he's pointing out where that was not done. That's all
with Trump
doing in the speech.
With Trump.
So far,
Trump.
but this is like roughly a quarter of the way of the speech, because I told you it's about a 45-minute long speech.
All right, let's go.
With no scientific citation, with no public hearings, no notice and comment rulemaking, no environmental impact statements, all of the process of democracy that I've been suing companies and governments for 40 years because they forgot to do one of those things. And all of our constitutional rights were plowed under. They closed all the churches, but they kept open the Walmarts and the liquor stores. And the Fifth Amendment says that no one shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property unless convicted of a crime. Yet President Trump shut down 3.3 million businesses. President Trump said that he was going to run America like a business. And he came in and he gave the keys to all of our businesses to a 50-year bureaucrat who'd never been elected to anything and had no accountability. They closed down.
Trump. I ain't heard shit about Biden yet.
He
Let's
closed
see.
down
We'll see.
3.3 million businesses with no due process, no just compensation, in violation of the Fifth Amendment. With the lockdowns, the mask mandates, the travel restrictions, President Trump presided over the greatest restriction on individual liberties this country has ever known. He didn't stand up for the Constitution when it really mattered. Next, President Trump's beloved Operation Warp Speed shut down jury trials for any corporation that was involved in COVID countermeasures. Here's what the Seventh Amendment says. No American shall be denied the right of a trial before a jury of his peers in cases or controversies exceeding $25. There is no pandemic exception. And by the way, the framers knew all about pandemics. There were two pandemics during the Revolutionary War, one that decimated the armies of Virginia, the other that destroyed for a long time the army of New England at the very time when Benedict Arnold's army had conquered Montreal. So they had gone into the inner city, taken away from the British, and they owned it, but they had to withdraw because they did not have the troop strength to defend it because of the smallpox epidemic. Otherwise, Canada today would be part of the United States.
Did you know that? I didn't know that. Did you know that?
No.
Because there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of interesting history lessons, like history stuff that he kind of shared throughout the speech. But the fact that we had taken Montreal and just couldn't, defend it and keep, but we took it over, and we really could. And Canada could have been part of the United States, which would have been a really interesting parallel universe.
It would have gelled well with us. I could have seen. I could see the U.S. being that territory north of us being the U.S.'s.
Let's get back into this. I fucked up and took it back. So let me see if I can find the right spot.
How do you keep doing that?
Because the volume is right on the small screen. The volume is right underneath of the play line.
Yet they did not put a pandemic exemption in the United States Constitution.
That was good. Look at that. That was really close.
And the waiver of the Seventh Amendment for corporations that were involved in countermeasures meant that no matter how reckless the corporation behaved, no matter how negligent it was,
Did
no
we hear
matter
this?
how toxic or unnecessary the ingredients, no matter how shoddy the testing, no matter how grievous your injury, you could not sue that company. They had a ticket to make anything they want without any kind of accountability. The Trump White House also went after the Fourth Amendment prohibitions against warrantless searches and seizures with this intrusive track and trace surveillance systems that obliterated our rights to privacy in this country. The only amendment that did not come under attack during the COVID pandemic was the Second Amendment. And many Americans believe that the reason for that is because we have a Second Amendment. Incidentally, President Trump also assaulted the First Amendment, or failed to defend press freedom when he continued President Obama's persecution and prosecution of Julian Assange.
Facts.
Assange should be Assange should be celebrated as a hero for doing exactly what journalists are supposed to do, which is to expose government corruption. We shouldn't be putting him in prison. We should have a monument to him here in Washington, D.C. The same is true for Edward Snowden. Who exposed illegal spying by the NSA. And Congress went ahead and passed legislation because of the findings of Edward Snowden. If he hadn't told us, we wouldn't know about it. He's a hero, not a criminal.
I agree with that.
Hold on. We'll stop in a second.
So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what President Trump should have done. On my first day in office, I'm going to
Hold on.
Still nothing about
Can you please
Biden.
let us finish up?
Edward Snowden, and I'm going to drop all charges against Julian Assange.
He's going to pardon Edward Snowden and drop all charges against
Bro,
Julian
he's not
Assange.
getting in office. It's all bullshit. He's not getting in office, so it doesn't matter. The only person that has a chance is Trump.
But you
So
enjoy Trump saying "I'll free Ross."
We gotta
Albert.
listen.
You
We
enjoy
gotta
Trump
listen.
saying, "I'll free
Yes,
all
because I know he's going to get in office. He has a chance. This
there
guy
was no
has no
mention-
flying.
there was no mention-
This guy
there was
has
no
no
mention
chance of
Julian.
getting in office.
He actually does. He does have a chance. Now, he's not going to get elected, but he does have a chance. That's the thing. He wouldn't be on the stage. He wouldn't be getting the media attention. He wouldn't still have survived through all these different presidential nominees.
It's not getting in office,
I'm not saying he's going to get in office. I'm not saying he's going to get in office, but he does stand a chance, or he wouldn't be here. He wouldn't be where he's at, is what I'm saying, if he didn't stand a chance.
Shout out to CL Bragg. I will be leaving your channels. You're both control opposition and support the sins.
Yeah, we're devil worshippers. You got us, man.
Yeah.
We've been busted. We've been busted, dude.
Yeah.
Homeboy called us out, man. He saw right through. He saw right through our bullshit, and he called us for what we are, man. We are controlled opposition, and we support the satanic death cult. We actually are half lizard people. We're not full on lizard.
RFK sounds like he has been down on too much coochie. Round of applause. Yeah, he's got too many.
But again, you don't like
hair
things
balls
that he's saying, though. You don't like. I mean, aside from it, like take the Trump stuff out of the equation, just the lessons of what he's teaching about the stuff. You're
I can't
too
because
wrapped
there's
up in this shit.
No, because there's an angle. There's an angle, and I see it.
I don't support none of them. That's why I'm looking at this from the angle that I'm looking at it.
No, the thing is, Biden has been the worst president I have ever witnessed in my life.
I'll repeat what I said yesterday, that if I was forced to vote, or it was going to mean that I was no longer going to exist on this plane, on this earth that I know of, like the situation of living, breathing, which I do, like I said yesterday, I do like to live. So if there was a situation where it was, where I got diddied, and they said, vote or die, vote or die.
Vote or die.
Trump's got my vote.
Okay. Yeah,
okay?
well,
I said it yesterday. I didn't say I would vote for RFK Jr., but I do like a lot of what RFK Jr. said, and I said it from the very fucking get-go. I still would like to see the two of them team up. He's still not technically.
Listen, Trump reached out to him to have him as his VP, and he denied it. That's when I stopped. That's literally when I stopped liking.
I never seen anything from the Trump camp, so I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not.
It doesn't matter
if
the guy.
Yesterday, man.
I know, but I'm saying
Groundhog Day blood.
It is. If the guy who
we weren't, if the guy who was yesterday.
No, we weren't. If RFK said it, Rice, what more do you need? I don't think
voting for anybody. I just like listening to what this raspy ass voice man has to say. And there's still some other good things you had to say.
All right, let's go.
Would you stop it?
I was trying to play and you hit play.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff about his stances.
I'm curious to know how President Trump is going to defend his attacks on the Constitution when I meet him on the debating stage. I invited him to debate in front of you, in front of the members of this party, but he declined. At some point, I hope that he has the courage to stand up there so that we can all talk about these issues and to make sure that these assaults on our Constitution never, ever happen again. We need to have a civics lesson for the American people to make sure this is never repeated. Now, when President Trump left office, the assault on the Constitution intensified. President Biden violated a freedom so fundamental that James Madison didn't even think to put it in the Bill of Rights. He never imagined that the government could mandate medical procedures to unwilling Americans in violation of bodily autonomy. But that's what happened during the pandemic.
So now he's on Biden.
A program of coercion and information chaos and information control that prevented the public from making fully informed choices. But that wasn't the worst of it. He put the power of his office behind the assault of the one freedom upon which all other freedoms rely, the freedom of the press. We now know from the Twitter files, from the discovery in the Murphy versus Biden case, and from my own case, which is now in front of the Supreme Court, Kennedy versus Biden, that 37 hours after he took the oath of office, President Biden was colluding with the FBI to coerce the social media sites, Google,
Shout out
Twitter,
Wisdom Bars.
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, to open portals to allow the
TDS.
federal agencies to censor political speech of Americans. The FBI opened this portal to the CIA, to CISA, to NIH, to the IRS, to the CDC, to the DHS, and about a half dozen other agencies in a obscene orgy of federal censorship that was unprecedented in the American experience. It's
An obscene orgy.
it's
We should call our show that, Obscene Orgy. Very good choice.
I want to highlight some of these comments really
Okay.
quickly. I have noted
about
here.
your TDS that you're suffering from.
Oh, I didn't
TDS,
start
the
that
Tr-
one.
the-
Yeah,
the
I didn't.
Trump
I
arrangement
didn't start that
syndrome.
one. Gen X says part of the establishment. Please elaborate. He's referring to me saying that RFK is part of the establishment, and I most certainly think he is. He followed up with saying, I think Kennedy. I said, and
You know,
I
his
agree.
family
Yes,
rejects
that's part
him,
of
right?
it.
Like the majority of his family rejects him, or at least the more respected political ones, like all on a JFK side. I believe there's a few that do support his campaign and even work in or involved in his campaign, working in some capacity. But his
What do you
family's
think
even
about?
his family's rejecting him and saying they're voting for Biden. So, I mean, that could be part of the narrative too, though. It could be part of the game. It could be part of the stage that we're watching everybody play the little freaking parts on. I told you, man, it's all a game of make believe everybody's playing anyways.
What do you think about Jenny G's here? Her comment.
Rice doesn't really know much about that, but Rice will definitely look into it.
No, me either. I don't know anything about that.
Well, Rice doesn't for sure.
Just curious, what policies of RFK don't you like? He's pro crypto.
It's
Cool,
his
my buddy.
Second Amendment policies. There's a lot of, and I don't know all the specifics, but I know he's not like completely cool with
He's
the
not
Second
pro-gun.
Amendment. He's not 100% pro gun and pro Second Amendment. I think he would
Which
rather
is-
just like let us have our little pea shooters or something.
Yeah, which is that's a hard stop for me. I can't support someone.
I mean,
who
there are
does
some.
that,
I mean,
but
I would have to get into specifics, but because I'm not actually going out and participating in
Voting?
this election process, there's no point,
Right.
You know, I don't mind
No, there
listening
isn't.
to these speeches because I found it to be interesting. Like, we haven't done this with other speeches. It's just the fact that both RFK Jr. and Donald Trump both that did speeches at the Libertarian National Convention, which I think are very unusual for that to take place. And that's why I thought it was worth us highlighting and listening to.
one more highlighted by Jenny G. During the pandemic, RFK and his current wife hosted a gathering stipulating all guests needed to be jabbed. He flip flops.
We got a I'm looking for the right words here. An intelligent, nice looking woman.
Who? Jenny G.
Yeah, she seems to have intelligence, and from that profile picture, unless she's catfishing us, she seems to be semi-attractive there.
Yeah, she does.
So you don't
She
usually
does.
see attractive ladies who exhibit a lot of brain power.
Amazing how he is afraid to even say Biden's name. Yeah, he kind of skips over Biden a lot. I do appreciate him.
He said Biden, and
I-
we're
no,
on Biden.
I know. I appreciate him
We're
talking
like
about
right
Biden right now.
halfway- We're right about halfway, and he's still, you know, he's crunching in on going through the amendments and what Trump, because it's both his opponents. It's Trump and Biden. That's his. There's no reason to go over any other sort of presidential term. It's just the two that he's running against, which makes sense.
All right, let's keep this thing moving.
It started with what they called medical misinformation.
Smash that like button,
And
by the
it
way.
wasn't even misinformation. There's a dialogue between Facebook and the White House at that time, in which Facebook is saying a lot of this information, including from me, the stuff that they were suppressing, is actually factually accurate. And the White House, they coined a new name, a new word called malinformation, which is information that is factually accurate, but is nevertheless inconvenient to government authorities. And pretty soon, an entire censorship industrial complex had grown up, which was $1 billion spent that involved the government agencies, the universities, NGOs, and tech companies. And the stuff that they censored, they started with so-called medical misinformation. They then widened that to all kinds of political issues, including censorship about criticism of the war in Ukraine and other government programs. Going back to at least the FISA Act under President George W. Bush, Democratic and Republican administrations have taken turns assaulting our constitutional rights and freedoms. You know that. That's why you joined the Libertarian Party. Well, I stand with you in valuing personal liberty. And I promise you that when I'm president, I'm going to protect your right to speak freely. I'm going to protect your right to assemble peacefully. I will protect your freedom to worship. I will protect your right to keep and bear arms. I will protect your right to a trial before jury. I will protect your privacy against unreasonable searches and seizures. I will protect your private property and your right to operate a business. And that's not all. Two of the most overlooked amendments in the Bill of Rights are the 9th and 10th. And those amendments essentially say that just because we've listed all of those rights by name, it doesn't mean that those are all the rights that you have. That any power, they say everything else a right, any power that is not explicitly given to the federal government remains with the individual or the states. And I will always protect those rights. As I mentioned before, the Constitution is more than a legal document. It's meant to inspire us. It's a recitation of the most fundamental moral truths that govern human conduct. It reminds us of the central proposition that only under a system which maximizes the personal freedoms that God intended for us when he gave us free will, can we achieve our potential for creativity, for prosperity, for the ultimate elevation of the human spirit. The Constitution embodies the very soul of our nation as first invoked in the Declaration of Independence. Let me read you now its most famous passage, which comes in the second paragraph. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I get goosebumps when I read those words. Those words change the world forever.
They did.
The Bill of Rights endowed them with a legal existence and a legal reality, but we need to take them further. Some people argue that it's fine for social media platforms to censor speech. After all, they're private companies, and they can do as they please. Well, that argument falls apart when the government is bribing, threatening, and cajoling them to censor speech. And to deplatform dissidents. It also falls apart if they have monopolistic control over the public space. But aside from that, yeah, they do have a legal right to censor. It is legally acceptable. But is it morally acceptable? Is it socially acceptable? It shouldn't be. In an authoritarian country like China or Japan, or sorry, Iran, censorship is socially acceptable. People take it for granted. It's in the air they breathe. In this country, to the extent that we still cherish the spirit of our founders, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, we do not take it for granted. Instead, we greet censorship with outrage. We greet it with indignation. We greet it with contempt. We fiercely reject it. If the day comes when we do not, our descent into tyranny is inevitable. Oh. What disturbed me most during the pandemic was not what the government was trying to do and what it succeeded in doing. It was really how the public complied. But now, except for the people in this room, I got to tell you something. That when I was researching my book on Dr. Fauci, I did a chapter on these old CIA programs at MK Ultra. MK Ultra, MK Naomi, MK Dietrich. These were the MK stands for mind control, and they were a series of experiments that the CIA did. It had other programs too, Operation Bluebird, Operation Artichoke, and were all designed to manipulate human behavior, individual behavior through the use of hypnosis, through psychiatric drugs, through sensory deprivation, through noise torture, through information confusion, and
propaganda.
The experiments on how to manipulate entire societies in order to impose control from above. They were doing all these weird experiments and creating Manchurian candidates, and it all came out in 1973, between 73 and 77, with the Church Committee and the House Select Committee on Assassinations. One of the famous experiments that I, in my book, was able to connect to MK Ultra was the Milgram experiment. The Milgram experiment was, as many of you know, was an experiment that was part of this program. It was conducted by a young associate professor at Yale University who recruited about 70 people from every walk of life, blacks, whites, teachers, students, business people, laborers. And he would put the subjects on a chair in one room, and they had a dial on the table in front of them. And they were told that dial was applying a shock, an electric shock, to a subject who sat in the other room, who was actually a Confederate of Dr. Milgram. He was an actor, but he pretended to be tied to a chair. And when the electricity went up, he would scream, he would see what level it was and scream appropriately and struggle and plead and beg and cry. And many of the subjects, when they were told to do it, Dr. Milgram would stand behind him with his white lab uniform on and all the iconography of authority, of medical authority. He'd stand behind him and he'd say, turn it up, turn it down, turn it higher, turn it down, turn it higher. Many of the subjects were weeping. They were pleading with him, don't make me turn it up more. And when he told them to turn it up, they did so anyway. And 67% of the people, the subjects who he recruited, turned it up to 250 volts where it was marked potentially fatal. So they, and what
I forget the name. Milgram. I forget the name of the experiment, but yeah, people will do things based off an authoritative figure or what they psychologically think of as an authoritative figure, like by wearing a lab coat, something like that, that they have some sort of superiority over them when it comes to having authority. And it's kind of been programmed into a lot of people. And that experiment was another example of that.
Concluded is that that most people, 67% of the people, will allow people in authority to overwhelm and subvert their most closely held values. They all knew it was wrong, but they did it because they were told to do it. The good news is that 33% of those people stood up and walked out of the room. And they were...
It's called the Milgram experiment. It was 1961. Those psychological experiments that were conducted by Yale University psychologist Stanley Milgram, who intended to measure the willingness of study participants to obey an authority figure who instructed them to perform acts conflicting with their personal conscience. And what RFK is saying is that two-thirds of the people chose to follow the authoritative figure, where 1/3 did not. And it's kind of in a similar situation as to what we experienced in 2020 and 2021 with the pandemic.
And I think that those were the libertarians. Those are the people in this room. Most Americans accepted the orthodoxy, and we watched this happening with dismay. We watched families separated and fighting with each other. I know you all knew people whose relationships changed because of your skepticism and their feeling of safety when they were subsumed in that orthodoxy. And now things are changing. Tens of millions of Americans are waking up to the fact that they were lied to the fact that they were manipulated, that they were gaslit. Except for a narrow elite that's still promoting it, mainly in the media, Americans have lost all trust in our public institutions. You know, today, about 2 months ago, the CDC made an official recommendation for the 9th COVID booster.
Number 9.
90% of Americans are saying we're not going to do it. Do you want a government that is telling you you can't go to work unless you submit to that? No. That's what they did to us 2 years ago. And now most Americans are losing their faith in those institutions, and with good reason. And I'm going to restore faith in those institutions. I'm not going to do it by telling people you ought to be censored, you ought to believe in it. I'm going to do it by making them tell the truth and giving us good science and changing the corrupt cultures that have put them under the control of corporations. The President of the United States is more than just a legal authority. Occupying the bully pulpit, he sets an example for the nation, for good or for ill. So I want to tell you the kind of example that I'm going to set for America. Yes, I'm going to uphold the Constitution and protect every freedom in the Bill of Rights. I'll also strive to represent the principle that animates those freedoms. And I believe this is the same principle that lies at the heart of the libertarian philosophy. It is the principle of respect. It is the respect for each individual as a full and sovereign being. Think about it. Censorship, for example, is just another form of disrespect. It says, I'm going to decide which kind of information you should and shouldn't hear. I'm going to protect you from dangerous thoughts. I'm going to protect you from subversive information. It's patronizing, right? All of our cherished rights embody respect for the individual. That's why we uphold equality under the law. No one is to be locked up arbitrarily. No one is to be deprived. Happy to talk afterwards. No one is to be deprived of their property. No one's to be subjected to humiliating searches without reasonable suspicion of having committed a crime. No one's to be prevented from worshiping God in the manner that they believe. Why is that? Because I respect your right to explore and define your own relationship with God. And no one is coerced into submitting to unwanted medical procedures. No one is required to participate against their will in scientific experiments. And each person is trusted with the responsibility to bear arms. By default, unless he violates that trust. This is the spiritual principle, prior even to the Constitution. All men are created equal. It originally applied just to property owners, then to just white men, then to all men, and then to women. Today, we understand that right to include every human being. My promise to you is that as president, I will uphold the principle of respect for each human being as an equal before God and an equal before the law. That's why my campaign never paints our opponents as monsters. That's why I never weaponize I will never weaponize the justice system, the federal agencies like the IRS, the FBI, or the CIA, or the Secret Service against my political adversaries. Everyone is equal under the law, period. No special favors for the big banks, for the corporations. No more regulations tilted to destroy small businesses. No more extravagant subsidies to mature industries. No more corporate welfare. No more surveillance of private citizens. No more propaganda. No more secrecy, and no more lies. My first day of office after pardoning Snowden and Assange, I'm going to issue an executive order forbidding the National Security Agency or any of the intelligence agencies from propagandizing the American people. I'm going to issue an executive order against any federal employee from collaborating with media or social media to censor Americans. And I'm going to issue an executive order that any federal official who lies to the American people in conjunction with his official duties will immediately be fired.
Okay, so what do you think about some of the things he just said? It's funny, somebody's talking about Cornel West. Cornel West is fun to watch, but I definitely don't want to see West for president.
Of course not. I think
I think he was running it there. I think he is running something to that effect.
It's not all this is nonsense. It doesn't matter because he only has 3 to 4%, as someone said. I give it that much, 3 to 4% chance of winning. So anything he says is going to he can say and be hyperbolic about everything because he knows that we know that he knows that he ain't winning. So it doesn't hold as much.
I still think the things that he's saying are still worth, like, you know, taking out just the fact that he's running for president, just the information that he provided. I haven't heard somebody running for political office in my lifetime that speaks like that uses the things that the founding fathers and can really walk circles around. That's why I think, honestly, they're not allowing RFK Jr. in on the debate stage against Biden and Trump, because I think he would just trounce them, you know, because he's so intelligent when it comes to this stuff. And he's also used to arguing in court because he's been doing it for like 40 years.
He's intelligent. He's intelligent. I don't think I've heard anyone.
R.A. Daniels says Kanye has a better chance than RFK.
Spelling it out sure does.
I would like the combination of RFK Jr. and Trump, though. I would. That might actually.
Again, this is why I immediately Rice disliked RFK after he said out his own mouth. Didn't have to hear from the Trump.
I'll reach out to I've been thinking about this anyways. I want to reach out to Kyle Kemper because he's highly involved with promoting and helping to bring attention to Kennedy's run for presidency. He's got a bus.
Now, who is Rice,
And that's
who is the
Kyle
incumbent
Kemper is-
right here?
You know who Kyle Kemper is, right?
Yes, I do. Who's the incumbent here? It's Biden, right?
Right.
He's the incumbent. Okay, why are you talking more about Trump? I wrote it down. He said Biden's name 3 times.
Yeah, no.
The worst president.
He definitely used Trump's name more than he used Biden's, but he did say things in regards to Biden without mentioning his name.
Doesn't matter. That
that
lets me know
because when he was implying not attacking political opponents, he definitely wasn't talking about Trump attacking political opponents with the justice system. So
yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I take note of those types of little idiosyncrasies that lets me know and just gives me a temperature gauge on those individuals.
If
the worst president ever, Rice, in history, and you've said his name 3 times and said Trump's name, I don't know how many I couldn't even count how many times he bashed Trump.
I'll say it. I'll say it one more again for everybody. Okay, that if diddied, if forced to vote or die. Okay, if it really came down to whether or not
I know you would vote for Trump.
Taking oxygen into my I will vote for Trump. If
I understand that.
It comes down to like vote or die. If I've been diddied, I will vote for Trump.
This is look at what Jay Crypto Minded said.
Obviously, we've done a lot of videos talking about Trump, and I'm not against Trump. I'm definitely against Biden.
I understand that.
RFK Jr.
Trump
I'm not voting for RFK Jr. I'm not
Trump,
voting.
every third word was Biden. He is fighting to win. RFK wants to sneak in again. He is at most will get 4%. And I agree with that right there.
I don't think he's going to win. But at the same time, I'd love to see younger presidential candidates. I don't like the fact that we're just down to like these 2 grandpas running for office. I've mentioned that.
I think after this showdown, we will see younger candidates.
We'll have to.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think there's any other.
Which is good.
All the other older politicians have been made to be a joke, pretty much. Which they all are, anyways.
Trump is too old. Biden is dead. Yeah, we need younger candidates for sure.
I don't think we don't have much longer left in the speech. We'll finish it up.
All right, let's go.
Let me add that respect for the sanctity of the sovereign individual knows no national boundaries. Murder is not okay anywhere in any form. That is why I will end the forever wars. I will end the regime change wars, the wars that have bankrupted our nation and ruined our reputation abroad. Finally, I want to say one thing about authority. I don't know what libertarian philosophy says about it, but I believe in a healthy respect for authority. However, authority must be earned, not forced.
Yeah, let's say highlight that.
We must not confuse respect for fear. This has been the mistake of American foreign policy. I grew up in an era when people around the world were hungry for American leadership. They understood the difference between leadership and bullying. And that's a lesson that our leadership, both Republicans and Democrats, have now forgotten. Other nations may fear us today, but they no longer respect us. And why is that? Because we've waged a series of unjust wars, because we violated our own principles of freedom and democracy. We have forfeited our moral authority because we have supported dictators and corrupt regimes and subverted democracy around the globe. And just as we have lost respect globally, we've also lost it at home. We have lost respect for ourselves. American children overwhelmingly say that they are not proud to be Americans. There was a poll that came out in 2013 in which Americans under the age of 35 were asked, are you proud of the United States of America? 85% said yes. The same poll taken 5 months ago, 18% said yes. So somehow, in the administration of the last 2 presidents, this young generation has completely lost faith in our country.
No.
Have failed to respect it.
It's not
A lot
It
of
has
our
nothing
young
to do-
people are a lot of our young people are kind of lost, man. They're almost, because of the way the school system is and the way this being. We're not in the public school system today, and it is becoming a lot more of a socialist type environment. So they're being taught and conditioned with these principles. So a lot of these younger people are the ones that are supporting Hamas. I mean, a terrorist organization. They're out there supporting it.
And that's coming from the Biden administration,
But
and
it's the
and
young
them
people.
allowing, and this is the nonsense that they allow and actually help facilitate and encourage the Biden administration, the left, the Democrats,
We're not that much further away from the movie Idiocracy. Okay, so I would probably say I'm not proud to be an American now,
and I'm proud to be American.
And that might be another reason why too, is because Trump uses a song that says that. And because people are so polarized and hate Trump, they just don't want to be proud of America because it obviously in some weird way supporting Donald Trump.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I mean, look at people are uncomfortable with seeing it. Listen, we've had schools in California, I think, suspend kids for driving to school with an American flag on their truck.
We need to.
This shit is out of control, bro.
We need to uncondition the condition that we've been conditioned with. That's what I used to say. We need to uncondition the condition we've been conditioned with. Yeah. All right. Let's finish up.
All right.
And I took it back again.
Around the world, we're hungry for American leadership. Lost respect globally. We've also lost it at home. We have lost respect for ourselves. American children overwhelmingly say that they are not proud to be Americans. There was a poll that came out in 2013 in which Americans under the age of 35 were out of their own futures. Now's the time to restore that hope, that admiration, that pride and respect. The only way to do that is to return to the founding spirit of our country, to return to the spirit that animated the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. If we're faithful to those, we will regain our pride as a nation. We'll regain our prosperity. We'll regain the respect of the world, and we'll regain our self-respect. We gain self-esteem by doing esteemable things, and that means complying with our own Constitution above all. In the summer of 2020, I traveled, this was at the height of the pandemic, I traveled to Berlin to speak to a group of about 1.3 million people from all over Europe in a peaceful demonstration. And an NBC film crew came up to me during that convocation, and they asked me why I wasn't wearing a mask, which nobody was except for the NBC film crew. And they said, wasn't I scared of dying of COVID? And I said to them, there's a lot worse things than dying. And they said to me, like what? And I said, like living like a slave.
True.
Like having my children grow up in an America where the Bill of Rights is just a empty piece of paper. In 1776, there was a generation of Americans that were willing to sacrifice their lives, their jobs, their property, their fortunes to give us this Bill of Rights. And upwards of 20,000 of them died to give us this gift. And we managed to keep it for 2 centuries. And then in 8 short years, during the administrations of 2 presidents, we gave it all away. Without
whoa. Again,
Jefferson said that the tree of liberty
nonsense.
has to be watered with the blood of every generation.
The Bill of Rights were taken away during Trump. Come on, man. See, that's the shit I'm talking about, bro.
He went through saying different constitutional rights that were taken away from us during both those administrations. That's when he was going through and dissecting Trump more than he did Biden. That's what he was doing, was showing that, giving examples of that. So it's just
And
giving a
but-
summary of your
you know,
speech.
we
It's
don't have
wrapping
to
up, kind of
die
like summarizing what he
to
said.
preserve our Bill of Rights, but we have to be willing to make sacrifices, and the sacrifices we're being asked
Can you pull us back
to
up?
make are very, very trivial compared to what they made in 1776. We're being asked to endure the scolding or the disapprobation of the public,
I
the
agree with that.
defamations of the press,
I agree
the
too.
antipathy of our government. But that's not a big deal. We all need to be able to put our self-interest aside if we're going to maintain these rights for future generations. And all of you who come
Facts.
here for the Libertarian Party, you all disagree about many things. Many of you don't agree with me on a lot of stuff. But we all agree on one thing, which is we have to fight with the Bill of Rights. Without the Bill of Rights, we have nothing in this country. And we all need to be united because there are a lot of people out there that don't understand what America is supposed to look like. And the people in this convocation do. Our public officials have forgotten that vision for America. And it's time that we remind them. We can only do that by electing leaders who understand the necessity for personal sacrifices to preserve the Bill of Rights. That's the path to restoring our national
Agreed,
greatness.
David.
That will be my promise to you as President of the United States. Thank you all very much, and God bless you.
All right, so that's that.
Yep, it did start 24 years ago.
To lighten the moment up, I think a lot of it started more in 1933. It's just been a perpetual. Well, it kind of started in after the Civil War. A lot of things, you know, the creation of the birth certificates, the Federal Reserve, the Social Security numbers, the Securities Act, the creation of the SEC, the Banking Act, the confiscation of gold. Fast forward to Bretton Woods. Fast forward to 1971 when Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard.
If RFK really wanted change and believed what he was saying, he would have joined Trump. And that's literally Rice where I wrote him off. I was actually pretty supportive of RFK up until that point where I heard he did not want to join
I
Trump.
wasn't
and
not as president. I like the idea of him being a VP with Trump and the two of them working together, because it wouldn't be
That's what I'm
like
saying.
it wouldn't be a jerk off session 100%. You know, there may be a couple patting on the backs, but it's not going to be a jerk off session by any means.
He said Biden 3 times. I counted.
Yeah, it was 3 or 4 times, but it definitely
3 or 4
wasn't as many times he said Trump. Yeah, man. I mean, you kind of got to know this shit as far as like what's happened. I mean, we've technically had 4 central banks. We had a central bank that took place before the actual first bank, before we were actual a nation. And then there were 2 central banks that took place with the creation of the United States. The second one, the first one was pretty much at the beginning, I think 1777 or 1779. And that was the charter ended after 20 years. And then the second central bank, their charter ended after 20 years, and that was Andrew Jackson who did that. We didn't have a central bank since from Andrew Jackson to the Federal Reserve. That's when it was very much wild, wild west, and these banks issued currencies. A lot of times we would see things made out of the actual metals as well. Will you take
THC, this is the point I'm to make, and this is what I'm trying to get all you guys who don't like Trump for whatever reason. It's fine, but you have to look at the attacks, right? Why do they attack Trump more than any other candidate president we've ever seen?
He's a threat.
He's a threat.
And they're afraid that he will do what they did to him. Which means that they're all gonna get
But what I'm saying is, if he's a threat to the establishment and everyone complaining about the establishment and the deep state, why aren't you supporting this guy full speed? I don't understand.
Will you pull up full screen?
It's circular. It's circular logic, in my opinion.
I'm going to share this meme that I made last night. I saw this thing, man. I saw you. I
That
know
was
you saw
funny.
it. I thought it was hilarious. I'm going to go ahead and share it real quick. Real quick, before we begin, I want to encourage you, if you are not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you are subscribed. And if you are subscribed, make sure you are still subscribed. YouTube, unfortunately, has been unsubscribing a large amount of people over the past few months. So make sure you are still subscribed. If you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? That dog.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That
man.
is hilarious, bro.
And I put
that was funny. I saw that last night.
That dog
Real
reminds
quick,
me.
before we begin-
Okay, that dog reminds me of YouTube blocking RiceTVx. Make sure you're still subscribed to my channel because I was posted 17 months later. I'm back under 32,000 subscribers on YouTube, aka CensorTube. Being designated as borderline content and keeping channels like mine in the shadows equals negative growth. I was showing where just the past 7 days, yesterday, it was negative 41 subscribers. For the 28 days, it's negative 104. But look, they said it was 341% less than the previous 28 days, which means that they unsubscribed over 400 people during the previous 28-day period. And so, and then I can also show where January 11th, 2023, I think was the first time I crossed over 32,000, which now I am officially back under.
Congratulations, Rice.
Yeah, thank you. I'm at. I'd even lost like 2 or 3 subscribers during this live stream. It's 31,990. 31,990. So I'm 10
AI
away,
Griff in the building.
10
Shout out to
subscribers
everybody.
away from crossing 32,000 for the 8th or 9th
Groundhog's
time.
Day. Yeah, that's the true Groundhog's Day.
That's Groundhog.
Well, man, it's been cool. I mean, it was, you know, he definitely almost like a if you want to call it a Putin type performance where he went through the history very well, very succinct. That's all cool.
I wouldn't have compared it to Putin, but I get what you're saying.
Close. This is what I'm saying.
It wasn't a history
you know,
lesson about the geographic area of the country, though. Like it was more of like a history lesson of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. Just 2 specific documents that he's saying that are losing being recognized because of the fact that these things are just being eroded away.
Yeah, and they are.
Thank you, David.
It's unfortunate.
Appreciate it.
It's
Yeah, make sure you guys are subscribed to both of our channels. We are streaming.
Yeah, we got about 200 people on deck, man. This is good.
Nice.
So we got 86 on X for me, 63 on X for you, 13 on YouTube, and 36 on YouTube for me. So X is treating us better for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But they won't let us monetize yet, man. We gotta figure that shit out.
We gotta figure that out.
Yeah, we gotta figure that out.
All right, guys, let us know your comments about this speech in the section below. I'll look out for them and comment and, you know, rant.
Yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned for our next videos. It might be together. It might not be together. You never know. So
you never know.
Stay tuned. That's all we can say.
There you go. We out of here, people. Holla.
Holla. Smash that like on your way out. By the way, Blood, this music almost put me asleep in the intro. Shout out to the little birdies.
Right.
Watch out for the ditty.
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Okay. Ready?
Fucking thing sucks. We'll do it live.
Okay.